We were taught that hard work would be our blessing, that diligence would bring prosperity. As Proverbs says, all hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. We were told that if we labored faithfully, honored our commitments, and walked uprightly, the Lord would provide for our needs. This promise shaped how generations ordered their lives, trusting in the wisdom of train up a child in the way he should go. Go to school, find honest work, be faithful in little and you'll be trusted with much. Retire in peace, surrounded by family. It sounded simple, it sounded just, and for a season, it bore fruit. But today, many who labor from dawn to dusk are weary, burdened, and still find themselves in want. Not because they have become slothful or unfaithful, but because the world's system shifted, and few were shown the new path. Each day, people rise before the sun, toil through the day, and bring their labor into the night, echoing Ecclesiastes. What does a man gain for all his toil at which he toils under the sun? They skip meals, they forsake rest, they hope that perseverance alone will bring deliverance. Yet the needs multiply, the wages seem never enough, debt becomes a yoke, and peace, the peace that surpasses understanding, feels distant. If this is your story, hear this. You are not forsaken. For decades, the promise was clear. Work diligently, honor your employer, walk in integrity, and you would reap a harvest, a home, a family, a secure old age. This way built the greatest middle class the world had seen, echoing the blessings of Deuteronomy for those who walk in God's ways. People didn't need to be wise in the world's eyes. They didn't need to chase after riches. They didn't need to strive endlessly. Faithful labor was rewarded. But as in the days of old, the times changed. Wages no longer kept pace with toil. The cost of living soared. The land became harder to till. And the safety nets of old, like pensions, faded away. Retirement, once a promise, became a burden to bear alone. The risk shifted from the many to the one. Suddenly, your future depended on knowledge you were never taught, on wisdom the world values but few possess. At the same time, loyalty was no longer honored. Layoffs became common. Work was sent far away. Even the righteous could lose their place. Yet instead of teaching new wisdom, the world said, work harder, work longer, find another way. But here is the truth. Hard work is still good in God's eyes, but in this world, it is no longer enough by itself. Today, labor without wisdom leads to weariness, not abundance. People are not lazy. They are not foolish. They are caught in a world that no longer rewards effort as it once did. It's like following an old path in a new land. You walk faithfully, but the destination never appears. The old way promised blessing and progress, but now it leads to frustration and confusion. So do not blame yourself for being lost. This is not your failure. The world changed, and few sounded the trumpet. More toil does not guarantee blessing. More jobs do not guarantee peace. Without understanding, you labor in vain, like running on a treadmill. Much effort, little gain. Hard work is still honorable, but it is only one part of the stewardship God calls us to. The paycheck alone is no longer your refuge. Relying on one source is more uncertain than ever. The cost of living rises, but wages remain. There is little margin. And when there is no margin, a single storm, a sickness, a repair, a lost job can sweep away months of labor. Here is wisdom. In these days, money rewards order and stewardship, not just effort. And be diligent to know the state of your flocks. Proverbs says, know where your money goes. Plan with purpose. Systems and wisdom bring fruit where willpower alone fails. This is not about blaming others. It is not about shame. It is about seeing the truth, so you can stop fighting yesterday's battles and begin to walk in new wisdom. You cannot win if you do not know the rules have changed. So let me ask you, do you feel the world changed? Or were we never taught the true wisdom of stewardship? Share your thoughts. You are not alone. This channel exists to shine light on the truth about money, not to shame those who struggle. If this message brought you clarity, subscribe. We break down these topics with biblical wisdom and practical steps. No hype, no condemnation. Even in these times, many who labor diligently, like the faithful servants in Scripture, find themselves weary, burdened, and still facing want. It is not for lack of toil, but because the world's ways have shifted, and the wisdom for these new days was not revealed to them. Each morning, as the sun has yet to rise, many rise early to begin their toil, just as Ecclesiastes says, "The sun rises and the sun sets and hurries back to where it rises." They labor from dawn to dusk, striving diligently, often sacrificing rest and family, echoing the words, "By the sweat of your brow you will eat your food." They follow every instruction, seeking to be faithful stewards of their work. Yet, like the widow with her last coins, the burdens of this world, bills and worries continue to mount. The wages earned seem never enough, and debt can feel like a yoke that cannot be lifted. Peace, the kind promised in Philippians, the peace of God which surpasses all understanding, feels distant. But take heart, just as Scripture reminds us, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Your worth is not measured by your wealth or your worries. You are not failing. For generations, the wisdom echoed Proverbs. All hard work brings a profit. The promise was clear. Labor diligently. Remain faithful to those you serve, as Ruth was loyal to Naomi. And in return, you could provide for your household, as it is written, "A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children." For a season, this covenant held true. Wages grew, blessings multiplied, and provision was abundant. In those days, retirement brought rest, much like the Sabbath, a time of peace and security. Diligence bore fruit, and the laborer was worthy of his reward. Yet, as in the days of old when the Israelites faced new trials, the rules of the land shifted quietly. Wages no longer kept pace with the needs of daily bread. The locusts of inflation devoured what was earned, and the cost of living soared. The old storehouses of pensions vanished, replaced by uncertain 401ks. The burden of tomorrow shifted from the many to the one. Loyalty faded, and the wilderness of layoffs and unstable paths became common. And instead of seeking wisdom or justice, the people were told, like Job in his trials, to simply labor harder, without answer for the changing times. Diligence is praised throughout Scripture. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for men. Colossians 3:23. Yet in today's world, hard work alone is no longer enough. Labor without wisdom leads not to abundance, but to weariness. Just as Ecclesiastes warns, "What does a man gain for all his toil at which he toils under the sun?" People aren't slothful, they're ensnared in a system that no longer rewards honest effort as it once did. It's like trying to find your way in a strange land with an old map. If the foundations are destroyed, what can the righteous do? Psalm 11:3. You follow the path faithfully, but the destination remains out of reach. The old ways promise security and blessing. Now, those ways lead to confusion, frustration, and a heavy heart. So do not condemn yourself for feeling lost. This is not a personal failing. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the powers and principalities. Ephesians 6:12. The world has changed, as if overnight, and the rules with it. Taking on more labor does not guarantee provision, as it once did. Striving endlessly does not bring peace. In vain you rise early, and stay up late, toiling for food to eat, for he grants sleep to those he loves. Psalm 127:2. Working harder, without understanding the times, is like running on a treadmill, much effort, but no true progress. Seek wisdom, for the wise store up knowledge, and let faith guide your steps. Diligence is praised in Scripture. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for men. Colossians 3:23. Yet in today's world, hard work alone is not the whole story. The laborer deserves his wages, Luke 10:7, but a paycheck by itself is no longer enough to provide security. Leaning on a single stream of income is like building a house on sand. It's more uncertain than ever. The cost of living, food, shelter, healing, keeps rising, echoing the trials of daily bread in Matthew 6:11. Insurance, wages and expenses climb, but the wages of the laborer seem unchanged. James 5:4. Without wise stewardship, a single storm, an unexpected bill, can shake the foundation you've built, as in the parable of the wise and foolish builders. Matthew 7:24-27. Many were never taught the wisdom of Proverbs. Be sure you know the condition of your flocks, give careful attention to your herds. Proverbs 27:23. In these times, financial order, structure, is as vital as effort. For God is not a God of disorder, but of peace. 1 Corinthians 14:33. Understanding where your resources go is wisdom, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Matthew 6:21. Being watchful over your finances, your cash flow, is more fruitful than relying on fleeting motivation. The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance. Proverbs 21:5. Systems and discipline triumph over mere hustle. True progress comes from purposeful action, guided by wisdom, not just by doing more, but by doing what is right in the eyes of the Lord. This isn't about casting stones at employers, government, or placing blame on any one neighbor, nor is it about shaming those who face trials. It's about seeking wisdom and truth, so you may walk in light and not in frustration. For as Proverbs says, in all you're getting, get understanding. You cannot run the race well if you do not know the course has changed. Let me pose a question to you, and I encourage you to search your heart as you consider it. Do you believe the world's system of wealth has strayed from God's wisdom, or have we simply not been taught the true biblical principles of money? Share strayed or not taught in the comments below. Your voice matters, and remember, you are part of a greater fellowship. This channel is here to shed light on God's design for money, not to judge those who struggle within the world system. If this message helped you see money through a biblical lens, consider subscribing. We break down these topics step by step, using scripture and real-life examples, with grace, not condemnation. God bless, and thank you for watching. The financial teachings shared on this channel are based on biblical principles and are intended for educational and spiritual guidance only. They do not constitute professional financial, legal, or investment advice. Always seek counsel from a licensed financial advisor or qualified professional for your personal financial decisions. We encourage prayer, discernment, and wise stewardship in all matters related to money and faith.